Like I say, in many ways, the most kings or most people basically were trying to pull the sword from the stone. Camel toe a lot or Camelot, the Round Table. Like I said, the Round Table and Camelot actually comes from JFK and basically Colombia, pretty much. He was trying to do the Round Table basically there, and it has to do with basically Colombia, the Panama Canal, and pretty much the aqueduct underneath it. Beginning with Roosevelt. Like I said, Roosevelt, what you know of Roosevelt is actually a lie. Apparently, Roosevelt was working for the Republican militia or the Republicans, basically, or something like that, and basically was trying to basically attack. Like I said, the Irish people contacted me, and the Irish people said that he was trying to start a revolt in the Panama Canal and actually revolt against someone or something, and basically they went and tracked him down in Colombia with about 300 gold or something like that, or 600 gold or something like that, or some amount of gold, and he was trying to raise a militia to attack the Panama Canal, basically, or something like that. The Irish people, like I said, what happened was basically Roosevelt or some group, some military group, basically killed off a bunch of Indians, killed off a bunch of black people, and then they got to the Irish camp. Like I said, my Irish workers, I guess from Birmingham or Ireland, basically were working in the Panama Canal too. And apparently, as the Panama Canal was wrapping up, or some point in the Panama Canal, basically, some group of people went down there and just started killing off the people because the people were supposed to get a massive bonus at the end, or were supposed to get paid a fair amount of money. And so some group of people decided it was easier to kill off 36,000 people or a couple thousand people or a couple camps than it was to actually pay the people the gold for some strange reason. I don't really know. Like I said, you have to contact the Irish and talk to them. Basically, like I said, what happened was the black people and the Indians or some group, two or three groups of the people didn't really have that many weapons among them, and basically they were easily killed. And pretty much whoever it was, they were taking Gatlings to the camps and then basically just hosing down the camps with bullets, basically. Using two Gatlings on wagons or something like that. Anyway, apparently this team was moving up the river, basically, going from camp to camp to camp, and then they got to the Irish. And like I said, that my Irish people though were from Birmingham and were from Ireland, and so they had guns and a couple, like 36 or a couple hundred guns among them, basically. And my Irish workers apparently were able to pretty much hunker down, and they only suffered like 36 casualties, basically, and they were able to basically get to the Gatling and basically kill them. And basically, then they interrogated them and found out that basically it was Roosevelt or something like that. So they imprisoned Roosevelt inside of his little mansion or inside of his house and kept him there for like 2 years, basically, while work proceeded. And like I said, the Germans came over from Germany and showed the books that the payments had been made to the people of Panama, that they were supposed to get the raises and they're supposed to get this and they're supposed to get that, and to straighten it all out. That the payroll had been transferred from Germany. Like somebody had gone to Germany, they had picked up the gold from Germany, and those gold coins and that money was supposed to be given to the workers of Panama and then distributed, basically, amongst them. And apparently there was this little problem where apparently the money, it left Germany and it went to somewhere in Panama, and then it didn't get to the workers or something like that. They weren't paid like they were supposed to be paid because there were supposed to be scheduled raises and all of this stuff. And apparently, what Roosevelt was doing is he was keeping the money and basically then going to the workers and being like, they don't pay you enough, blah blah blah, you should blah blah, or something. I don't really know. My Irish people said he was trying to do a revolt, you know, and trying to take over Panama Canal. And then he went, and then apparently they tracked him down. Like I say, they found him in a bungalow or inside of a house or inside a hotel in basically Colombia, holed up, and he was trying to hire or pay for some Colombian people to basically go and attack Panama. And like I said, I guess in those days what they would do is they would promise you like 50 gold, or they'd promise you 20 gold, and then you would go and die, and then they would just keep the gold. So it's like, I don't know. So because they knew you would attack and then you would be killed, or they wouldn't have to pay you as much as they had promised you. So anyway, though, I don't know. Like I said, crazy takeover plans. You'd have to talk to basically, the Republicans, the Democrats, and basically the people in the White House in Washington D.C. or something like that. Like, I don't really know. So personally, to me, I mean, I'm Lucifer Starline. I'm basically, I had printing presses in Germany and printing presses in America, and basically, like I said, it's funny that JFK, he was printing off of the printing presses in the White House, and they actually attacked Germany to actually get the printing presses from Germany, but Germany was going to send them to America. I mean, I was going to have them moved over here anyway, or as having new ones built in America anyway. But of course, those would be my printing presses, Lucifer Starline printing presses, and not the Republicans or the Democrats. So, like I said, I don't know. Somebody was tracking all this information down and looking at which buildings were hit and which buildings were attacked, and the different goings on of what was happening during the war. Somebody was actually tracking all this stuff down, and it's like, and then like the printing of the money in Europe. They're printing 5 cent or 10 cent or 1,000 cent bills, but in America they're printing dollar bills. So basically, people could pretty much be paid in America a whole dollar, and then they would go over to Europe and they would basically be really rich on like $100 would be like, I don't know, $100,000 in Europe. So they're trying to do this whole big thing, and like I say, I don't really know. I didn't know anything about it really. I mean, and realistically, the Europe basically just had, what they did was they started having two prices basically for everything. They and somebody told me this. They basically started having two prices for everything. There's the local price, which was whatever, and then there was the foreign price, which was really realistically really high. And the foreigner price, so something like an alternator locally would cost you like 36 cents or something like that, or 36, the equivalent of $36 basically. But the foreign price would be equivalent to that, which would basically be like $34,000 or something like that. Because because of the difference in money. Because in Europe they're printing cent notes, and in America, or on this side, they're printing dollar notes. So it's just somebody's like stupid plan, so they could have like $36 and they could go over to Europe and basically buy half of Europe. Like I said, I don't know, and realistically, it might have also been inflation or whatever, because the money started over there. But I was doing so many building projects and basically building most of Europe, half of Europe, or 2/3 of Europe, or all of Europe, basically. So and my idea was I would build all these buildings and then all these things, but then these things would, money and blah blah. It gets all complicated, and it's like, I don't even want to deal with it. I don't care about that. But if you want to know exactly what was happening and why, and where the Republicans were getting their money, they were getting their money from the White House. And because like I said, in the White House and Oval Office, there used to be a little printing press, one of the little 4-foot or 2-foot printing presses. Eventually, they figured this out because they were printing these notes, and the dollar bills weren't even. They weren't cutting them perfectly even, so they weren't cut right. And they were using older printing because they didn't have the new plates. They had the old plates. The Treasury had the new plates and the better plates and everything else like that, and the White House had the older plates, blah blah. And they realized this, and they realized that a lot of the counterfeit money was actually coming from the White House. So the Republicans, or the people in the White House, were basically printing money to have money, basically. And that was supposed to be my printing press, and that was my little thing, But so eventually somebody actually realized this, and they took the printing press out of the White House, so the president or whatever couldn't counterfeit money anymore. And they basically took it and they put it in a museum instead, and said, no, you can't do that anymore. You have to get your money just like you have to get your money from the same place everyone else does, which is basically the right way, which is pretty much your pay or whatever. So the people were dealing with all these problems, basically.